Carlos Rodon, ouch. We'll recap Thursday, reveal our latest rankings movers, and preview Week 15 up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaron Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu,
Happy Kokomo Friday and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on June 28th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today on the show, another day, some more rough pitcher outings, our latest prospect spotlight. We have rankings, risers, and fallers, Week 15 preview, and much more. Let's jump in.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Oh my goodness. Player of the night. Up first is Scott White.
Ah, yes. My player of the night, Noelvi Marte, who he's back. Yeah, he is back. He's back in the lineup, and he's back to looking like he did over the final 6 weeks last season. And just yesterday, I was wanting to exercise caution with him, given how bad he looked on his rehab assignment and how much trouble young hitters in general have had this year acclimating to the majors. I said, a worthy stash still, but you're not going to want to actually activate him in fantasy until you see him get back to form. Well, it took one game for him to appear back to form because he went 3 for 5 with a double, a stolen base, 3 runs, did not strike out among the 2 outs he made. It was basically all the positive signs we saw from Noelvi Marte over that 6-week period were revealed here in his first game back. You had, he only struck out 20% of the time. Like I said, no strikeouts in this game. He stole a base in his first game back, was plenty aggressive on the bases during that 6-week period, ended up stealing 6 bases. He had premium exit velocities during that stretch. And here in this first game back, he hit a ball 107.2 miles per hour and 105.8 miles per hour. So 2 hit very, very hard. By the way, his max exit velocity, again, for just a 6-week period last year was 96th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the average exit velocity was great too, but that goes to show you the extent of the upside here. If Noelvi Marte can keep the strikeouts under control, as he has so far in the majors, if he can elevate the ball well enough to maximize his power, if he remains aggressive on the base paths, it's a very attractive package. And he should play literally every day for the Reds, given all the injuries to their infield. There's clearly not the logjam we thought there was going to be at the start of the season. So playing time is not going to be an issue for Noelvi Marte. It is just one game. Maybe he goes 0 for 17 after this, but it could not possibly have been a more encouraging first game back. And he's still available in enough of fantasy leagues that I would say this is enough for you to rush out and grab him anywhere he is.
Yeah, I don't want to overreact to one game, but
let's do it.
Might be your only chance to pick him up, right? Rest of season, if he just goes out and has this breakout like many people thought he was going to have before that suspension, then yeah, this is your last chance to pick him up. He's 63% rostered on CBS. Scott, right back to you. How would you rank Marte, Joey Ortiz, Mark Vientos? 3 young third basemen that we all have a level of interest in.
Yes, and I like them all a lot.
This is why you get paid the big bucks.
I think Noelvi Marte, in theory, does everything, and those other guys don't. So I think he has to go to the top of the list. And I'm inclined to put Vientos ahead of Joey Ortiz right now, as much as I like Ortiz, because Vientos has managed to keep that strikeout rate down, and the power is certainly playing. So it just feels like Ortiz might have the highest floor of the 3, but I think there's a considerable ceiling gap there between him and the other two.
It might be Ortiz in a points league, right? Just because the plate discipline for him is a lot better than what we've seen from Marte or Vientos, although neither has been a disaster in that regard. But Ortiz
if you're
has
just talking
been
about
better.
walks when you say plate discipline.
Yeah. Well, the combination of walks and strikeouts,
Right. I guess my point is strikeouts aren't bad for Noelvi Marte, and at least this year they haven't been bad for Mark Vientos. But yeah, Joey Ortiz, even fewer.
Mm-hmm. Let's stick with the Reds, Chris, and your player of the night.
Yeah. Can you hit the button?
Oh, yes, I certainly can.
Thank you.
You can't keep getting away with it.
Okay, you didn't clip the whole.
You can't keep getting away with it.
You didn't leave enough time for the dramatic pause.
Well, I wasn't sure. It just went silent. I wasn't sure. I feel like that might just need to be a segment every day, because it feels like every single day when I'm working on the newsletter and I write about standouts every day, there are like 3 pitchers who like go 6 innings and allow 2 runs and walk, let's say 6, not picking that for any specific reason. And let's say they only strike out, let's say 2 batters in a given start. And every day I'm just like, well, I know the results are good and they're helping you out right now, but I think this guy stinks. And I hate having to type variations on that over and over. But that's definitely how I feel about Andrew Abbott. I just think there is, look, I don't want to say there's nothing real about what he's doing or that he has not earned the results that he has gotten, because he is doing a really good job of limiting hard contact overall. That being said, in this start, let me make sure I have the right number. I believe he had 4 batted balls with an expected batting average of .580. Turn them into 3 outs and 1 home run. And he just keeps doing this, right? Like he's giving up a lot of contact because he's not getting very many strikeouts. His walk rate overall has been fine, but today he walked 6 in 5 innings. And I don't buy that Andrew Abbott is suddenly one of the premier quality of contact mitigators in baseball. And that's basically the only reason he's had success so far. Now, I know he has done a good job overall of limiting runs. We saw this early last season, too. There was a stretch early on in Andrew Abbott's rookie season when he made his debut where he kept getting decent results, but the underlying numbers did not support it. And that's still where we are right now. So I'm not saying drop Andrew Abbott, but I think there is going to be a point where we are dropping Andrew Abbott.
I don't even know how relevant it is that he's preventing hard contact, because he's not preventing hard contact such that he's preventing home runs. His home run rate is enormous, and like it's probably going to get worse this summer. Obviously, he plays in a very homer-friendly park. And he walks so many guys. Like just that combination alone, you allow that many home runs, you allow that many walks, you're going to have problems. And he doesn't miss bats either. So it's like he's bad on every leg of the FIP triangle.
Yeah.
What is this FIP? 497.
497, 477 xFIP. Now, the xERA was 321 coming into the start. I would imagine it got worse today, but still. That is the one, because his quality of contact metrics, like I said, have been really good. I just don't buy it. Like that's the kind of thing that's a super noisy stat, and you can run really hot for a month, 2 months, sometimes even 3 months in that regard. But we saw
6 months.
Yeah, I mean, we saw more of a sample size last year where he was pretty average to bad in terms of his quality of contact allowed. And in that park, that's going to lead to bad results on balls in play. So there are other pitchers who pitch today who are much more droppable than Andrew Abbott, who are rostered pretty widely. I would drop Miles Michaelis ahead of him. I would certainly drop Jordan Montgomery ahead of him. I think there's going to be a point where we're dropping Andrew Abbott.
I think John Gray is in that discussion as well.
Sure, John Gray. Yeah, I think all four of those guys are like.
Here's the thing:
you're unlikely to miss any of them.
I'd be fine dropping Andrew Abbott over any of those guys, honestly, except for maybe Michaelis, because I don't think Michaelis is very good either. I don't trust Abbott enough to start him ever. I mean, it's worked out so far, and I can't say I'll never have him as a sleeper pitcher because I have to recommend some bad pitchers as sleeper pitchers sometimes. But the whole thing there is you'd rather not have to start a sleeper pitcher. That's generally the idea. So, yeah, I think he's bad. I don't trust him any further than I can throw him, which isn't very far. But I don't trust him any further than he can throw me, which is probably a little farther.
Probably
7-8 feet.
By the way, the matchup for Andrew Abbott next week at the Yankees. So,
honestly, I'll take it back. I think you can drop Andrew Abbott because I have no interest in starting him there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Speaking of the Yankees, Carlos Rodon got crushed at the Blue Jays, and he allowed 8 earned runs over 5 innings, 2 homers allowed. It's an interesting start because a lot of this damage came in the first 2 innings. Under the hood, he still had 17 whiffs on 107 pitches. The average exit velocity, actually not terrible, 87.3. I know what everyone's thinking. Oh, Yankee homer. Frank's trying to defend Carlos Rodon. No, I'm just saying under the hood, it was an interesting start. But the last 3 have been really bad now for Carlos Rodon. 13.17 ERA, a 2.49 whip. His overall ERA has jumped from 2.93 to 4.42 during this stretch. And it's mostly just his fastball is getting destroyed. In this start, 100.6 average exit velocity. Against the Braves, 100.9. Against the Red Sox, 98.5. So that fastball is just getting crushed right now. And what annoys me most about this is the ERA estimators were right there to tell us that what Rodon was doing at the time, at least based on FIP, XFIP, XERA, everything we look at every single day, did not believe what Carlos Rodon was doing. But for some reason, we all just looked the other way. I don't know why. What do you guys think?
Well, because he was getting strikeouts, and that is always the most valuable to me. Because he was getting strikeouts and because he wasn't getting walks, he was mostly like XFIP didn't like him because he gave up a lot of fly balls. But that kind of may be what's happening, right? Carlos Rodon may be emblematic of what's going to happen to all of pitching this summer as the ball carries better. What's going to happen to Andrew Abbott eventually? What's going to happen to so many pitchers? 5 home runs in his last 2 games. You bring up the interesting point about the fastball, that one in particular is getting hit harder, which seems like a separate explanation than the one I'm giving here. And it may have more to do with that than just fly balls that were turning into outs earlier and now turning into home runs. But I'm kind of with you in that I don't see like an underlying skill change here during these recent struggles. And so it's more just about how the existing skill set is going to play out, if that makes sense.
One of the reasons I was sort of optimistic about Rodon coming into the season was when you looked under the hood last season, the movement and velocity profiles on his fastball and slider looked very similar to what they looked like the previous year. His fastball velocity in 2023 was down 0.2 miles per hour from where it was in 2022. His slider whiff rate was only down 2 percentage points. The movement profiles, the spin rates, pretty much all that stuff, the stuff looked very similar to what it did in 2022.
And now it doesn't?
No, I think it still does, but now we're going on, what is it? 150 total inning 160 total innings since joining the Yankees, where while the physical characteristics of the stuff mostly look the same, the results just have not been there. And I was willing and able to talk myself into, all right, he had the back injury. He just wasn't executing well last season. We don't have that explanation now.
Well, it was going to be interesting if you said that he's kind of lost that fastball and slider shape again, because his struggles have largely coincided with him mixing in a curveball and changeup more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the more he manipulates the ball, the less crisp his best pitches become. You're telling me that's not the case? So maybe I'm going down a rabbit hole here that doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I mean, look,
the curveball and changeup themselves haven't been the problem. They've performed well enough.
Yeah, for the most part, the four-seamer, it's like they're not identical, right? There have been changes in their movement profile, velocity, and spin rates, but it's not like he's lost 4 inches of break on his slider or something like that. You know, we're talking maybe 1.5 inches on average, one way or the other, which I didn't think Carlos Rodon was the kind of pitcher when he was at his best where the margin for error was 1.5 inches on his best pitches. But I think it's some combination of the pitches are a little less crisp in a way that's hard to quantify, but exists. And the execution is probably a little worse. And I think also just it might be one of those situations where like Rodon maybe never had great command, but he was so overwhelming with that fastball up in the zone and the slider down that it didn't matter so much. And now if those pitches are 92% as effective as they were, maybe that's enough for the mediocre command to really bite him. I don't have, I wish I had something solid to latch onto, but we're going, like I said, on 160 innings of a 22-ish% strikeout rate. The control's been a little better this season, but the quality of contact remains abysmal in both seasons. And it just seems like this might be what Carlos Rodon is now.
I don't know the explanation for the fastball stuff. Like maybe it's something to do with release point or IVB being down. So, you know, some people who are smarter than me can figure those things out. But I will just point out the whiff rate on his fastball from 2022 till now has gone way down. And the expected WOBA and the average exit velocity has gone way up. So there is clearly just something broken with his fastball right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to call him a hold. I'm not going to drop Carlos Rodon.
Absolutely.
Because I made that mistake earlier this season and then he caught fire and I looked really stupid and I don't want to look stupid again. Who knows? Maybe holding is stupid. Maybe I'm just condemned to look stupid with Carlos Rodon. But I'm going to hold.
I'm pretty much with him where I am with Kevin Gausman, where Kevin Gausman has more structural things that you can point to as to why he's been bad. But my general feeling on both of them is there are going to be good stretches moving forward. I don't think the consistent start in, start out excellence is going to be there. And so I've moved them both outside my top 36 at starting pitcher now.
Carlos Rodon, 80% started on CBS. He faces the Reds at home next week. I don't think there's any way you could start him. Even in a 15-teamer, if you can put a reliever in your lineup. I just don't think, as bad as he is pitching right now, you cannot start Carlos Rodon. That's
I would agree.
So we did that with Garrett Cole yesterday. We're also saying all of the pitchers who are getting good results, but with the underlying numbers are bad, we don't trust them. Who are we starting?
Well, there's plenty of pitchers to start. There's plenty of good pitchers right now. I'm still starting Jack Flaherty, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of a take for later on when we do the rankings. I feel like the glob is coming back, but I'll save that for a little bit later on. All that damage off of Carlos Rodon, by the way, most of it was done by George Springer. So I wanted to give him a shout out here up top. 3 for 3 with a double dong, 6 RBI. Over his last 3 games, he has 6 hits, 3 homers, 8 RBI. And Chris, good on you for keeping the faith the other day. I brought up Springer on the drop-o-meter, and you said to hold on. I'm still pretty skeptical, but maybe this is the start of George Springer getting back on track. Still 88% rostered on CBS. It's Friday. You know what that means. Another prospect spotlight. It's time to discuss some of the prospects who are catching our eye from a fantasy perspective, thanks to our sponsors at Hyundai, where they're thinking about every step of your journey out on the road. Let's talk about Cardinals pitching prospect Quinn Mathews, 23 years old, a 4th-round pick in last year's draft. Big 6'5" lefty who has had a stellar first season in the minors. 13 starts between A ball and high A. It's a 2.18 ERA, a .78 whip, 110 strikeouts over 74 and a third innings. He actually just got promoted up to AA, has not made a start there yet. Scott, what do you see in the arsenal when it comes to Quinn Mathews, and how much are you buying into this breakout season for him?
I'm buying in. He's been one of the biggest pitching prospect risers this year. Now, I will point out that he is 23 years old. Whenever you get somebody with that much college experience, a pitcher with that much college experience going against hitters in A-ball, there's a tendency for them just to overwhelm them with their variety of pitches. And sometimes you get fake outs that way. But he did maintain his dominance from low A to high A. AA is going to be the biggest test yet. And more than that, did you give the numbers for Quinn Mathews up, by the way? Because that's probably how I should lead. Okay, yeah, obviously amazing K per 9. Great control, just basically doing everything well. More than the numbers, though, for Quinn Mathews, or what the scouting reports are saying about it, because when the Cardinals drafted him just last year, 4th round pick, so, not like a highly regarded draft pick or anything, the reputation for Quinn Mathews was control and command lefty. Like maybe he'll be a back of the rotation guy, swingman type. But he has upped his fastball by a few ticks this year. And that's obviously, as a pitcher, one of the main things you can do to improve your ceiling. It has a good angle for him to locate it up in the zone to get whiffs. And then he has 2 different breaking balls to get whiffs down in the zone. And like I said, elite control, or at least it's played as elite against A-ball hitters. 66% of his pitches have been for strikes this year. That's great. 18% swinging strike rate, also great. So again, AA is going to be a big test for Quinn Mathews, but I'm for being a no-name coming into this season, I'm buying in pretty hard on him.
All right. Again, that was Quinn Mathews of the Cardinals. Make sure to check out Scott's latest prospect report, which is live on the site, cbssports.com/fantasy/baseball. Thanks again to Hyundai for sponsoring this segment and the show. Learn more at HyundaiUSA.com. One quick reminder to download and follow our 5-minute podcast, FBT in 5, wherever you listen to podcasts. We have a bonus prospect episode coming out every Saturday of the season. Let's take our first break, and when we return, we'll hit the news and notes right after this.
Ready to ride?
Do you know who you're talking to?
I'm aware regardless. Celebrate a new season of The Chi.
I vow to show up for those that need help, those that just need somebody to listen.
And enjoy even more powerful series.
Oh my God.
Is that it?
And groundbreaking movies.
Power for the voiceless. You only get one life and you have to live it to the fullest.
This is my community. I love y'all.
We on the rise. Black Voices. Explore the collection on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in news and notes. We had a pair of injury scares with the Phillies. Bryce Harper felt hamstring tightness while running to first base in the 9th inning. Manager Rob Thompson said there would be more information to come out on Friday. I know Harper has had an extensive injury history. I just scrolled through. I don't see hamstring anywhere. So I don't think this is a recurring thing or anything he's dealt with in the past. But
no, he explicitly said he felt it in his lower hamstring. And he said he doesn't really know what to expect because he's never experienced something like that before. Take that for what you will.
Not great. I mean, it's bad timing. We need all the hitters we can get. And Harper's having a massive June and just great season overall. So not great. And Kyle Schwarber left the game with left groin tightness. So hopefully we learn more about both of those guys on Friday. Carlos Correa was removed Thursday after taking a pitch off his right forearm. X-rays came back negative, and he anticipates that he will be in the lineup Friday, which is pretty surprising because the reaction at the time, you thought this guy's arm was broken.
Yeah, I mean, that the way he reacted looked like it was immediately he knew it was broken and must have just hit a nerve or something. I don't know, because it looked like his arm just went completely limp, and he's fine, I guess. I'm happy to say it because I moved him into my top 12 at shortstop, and would have been really annoying if that happened right after I did that. He's been
You were getting very upset on Twitter, I saw.
Well, because someone did the like, oh, he can't stay healthy. He got like, it's fine if you think that there is something about Carlos Correa that makes him unable to stay healthy. He has a degenerative foot/ankle problem. That is fine. As far as I know, the ankle bone is not connected to the hit by pitch bone. So like we did this with people did this with Byron Buxton when he got hit by a pitch a couple years ago too. And it's just so stupid. Like we're dumb about how we talk about injuries in general, but when we're doing it with hit by pitches, I can't even.
Chris, if his feet were healthy, then he would have been able to get out of the way of the pitch.
Like
and
he's been hit by 2 pitches this season. Yeah. It's not even like he's Brandon Geyer, who's like leaning into it. Move on.
All right, let's move on. Adley Rutschman had a ball tipped off his hand earlier on Thursday, but remained in the game, and he actually homered in the game, so I think he's fine. This one is pretty annoying for fantasy. I get why teams and the Pirates in general are doing this, but Jared Jones is no longer listed as a probable pitcher this weekend. There is no injury. This just sounds like a way that the Pirates will somewhat limit Jared Jones throughout the season. In weekly lineup leagues, I mean, unless you guys saw something different, there was no indication this was going to happen. So
nope.
He's just in your lineup for a 0, which is annoying.
Yeah.
I guess that's why Luis Ortiz made a start.
Well, Martin Perez is returning from the IL tomorrow.
Okay, so that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, annoying. Zach Gallen could start Saturday against the A's if his bullpen tonight, Thursday, went well when we're recording this. Gleyber Torres has been benched the past 2 games for a multitude of reasons. He's been slumping with the bat and the glove. He also did not run out a grounder on Tuesday, so sounds like he could be back in the lineup Friday. It's been a pretty terrible season for Gleyber.
Slumping with the hustle.
He's going to get it going now.
Slumping everywhere.
This is the light that will spark the rest of Gleyber Torres' season as like a top 13 shortstop.
It's not so crazy, Chris. We saw it happen with Seiya Suzuki last year.
Exactly.
We'll see. Javier Assad was placed in the IL with a right forearm extensor strain. Lars Nootbaar will begin a rehab assignment at AA Friday. He's been out since late May with a strained left oblique. Jeimer Candelario has missed 2 straight with hamstring tendonitis. Yu Darvish had imaging on his right elbow come back clean, though he'll likely get additional imaging, quote, for peace of mind. Okay. Will Brennan was placed on the IL with a strained oblique that will probably help Jean-Kenzie Noel stick around a little bit longer. Spencer Turnbull was placed on the IL with a right lat strain and is expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks.
That sucks.
Yes, it does. Bryce Elder was sent back to AAA after his solid start on Wednesday, and the Cardinals are promoting one of their pitching prospects, Gordon Graceffo, but it sounds like he'll pitch out of the bullpen at first. Scott Graceffo had a huge 2022, but the numbers have taken a pretty big step back since then. Nothing to see here, right?
I mean, he was an example of what I warned about with Quinn Mathews a minute ago, where, older guy dominating A ball. You think he's a big deal, and then he moves up and it's exposed as not such a big deal.
I'll also just point out Cardinals might just be not great at developing pitchers at this point. What's the last success story for the Cardinals pitching development?
Adam Wainwright?
Well, to Jack Flaherty, I would
Flaherty
say more recently than him, but that was still a while ago, to be fair.
Yeah, and they've gone through Matthew Liberatore and Austin. No, who's the guy that's pitching for the Rockies now?
Austin Gomber.
Was Gomber? Is that who I'm thinking of?
He went over in the Arenado trade. Yeah.
Daniel Ponce de Leon. Yeah, there's been a lot of guys that we thought might develop for the Cardinals who just absolutely have not. So
I would argue Wainwright was developed more by the Braves anyway. I'm just saying.
Wow. Look at the 2 homers on the show.
Scott called me out beforehand. I said, hey, we should lead with Carlos Rodon. He says, come on, Frank, you're a homer, blah, blah, blah. We can't lead with Carlos Rodon. And here he is.
See, you got to have integrity like me and root for a team where there's no point in ever being a homer because they're terrible.
You sounded like a Twins fan just a minute ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love Byron Buxton.
And Carlos Correa. You can have an AL team. I'll allow it, Chris. I think it's fine. Let's talk waiver wire pitchers. Andrew Abbott is on this list. We already spoke about him. Ben Lively, I kind of feel like I could just play the soundbite again. Can't keep
with
this. Michael Wacha, solid start against the Guardians, 5 1/3, 1 run, 6 strikeouts in that one. And Trevor Rogers, over his last 4 starts, a 2.96 ERA, a 1.11 WHIP. The underlying numbers are not buying it at all.
No.
Do you guys actually have any interest in adding Rogers, Wacha, Lively, or Andrew Abbott?
I like Wacha. I like Wacha quite a bit. His last 7 starts. I don't believe you gave these numbers already.
Nope.
His last 7 starts, a 2.43 ERA, 106 WHIP, 8K per 9. So he's, after a shaky start to this season, he's gotten back to being the overachiever we saw the previous 2 years, which over that length of time maybe means he's not an overachiever. I don't think the ceiling is especially high, but good ballpark, pretty good team. And I think a solid, stable sort of innings eater that's worth having around, if only for playing matchups. Has a good matchup this upcoming week against the Rays. I'm surprised he's only 47% rostered, to be honest.
And I will say Ben Lively gets the White Sox next week. So if you want to stream him, perfectly viable pitcher. Would certainly rather have that than Andrew Abbott against the Yankees or Trevor Rogers, frankly, against anyone, but especially the Red Sox.
We had 2 gentlemen make their first career starts here on Thursday. David Festa with the Twins and Davis Daniel with the Angels. Festa, he struggled through his debut. He did pick up the win because he had loads of run support, 5 innings, 5 runs, only 2 strikeouts there. And Davis Daniel, actually 27 years old, minor league numbers. I mean, he had great numbers like a couple of years ago. They haven't been good since, but this was an amazing start against the Tigers. 8 shutout innings, 8 strikeouts to 0 walks. He had 13 whiffs on 99 pitches. I believe he pitched really well out in the Arizona Fall League last year as well. Yeah. Anything to add here on Festa and Davis Daniel? Are you giving them a look anywhere in deeper leagues?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time looking past that 5.33 ERA and 150 WHIP for Davis Daniel at AAA this year, and
I may drop Yadiel Rodriguez for him in my AL only league. I may put in a $1 bid for that, but no, not really.
Yeah. He'll have to go on a Christopher Sanchez-like run, I think, for me to start buying into Davis Daniel. David Festa, I think, has more potential. I mean, his K per 9 in the minors was over 13. His swinging strike rate was, wasn't it over 16%? Really good. But a lot of base runners. And obviously didn't look great in this first start. So worth monitoring Festa. I think there could be upside there, but not a priority to add him right now.
Davis Daniel, by the way, in the Arizona Fall League, 4 starts, 1.89 ERA, 0.79 WHIP, 25 strikeouts over 19 innings. Obviously not a great level of competition. I think I saw one of his starts while I was out there. That's why it's stuck in my mind. But yeah, deeper leagues, we'll see where he goes from here. Again, that is Davis Daniel of the Angels. What do we do with these pitchers? Hold or drop? We already spoke about Carlos Rodon. We're holding. We're benching in the meantime. Jordan Montgomery, rough outing against the Twins, 2 2/3, 8 runs allowed. 4 of those were earned, and lots of hard contact in this one. Digging into the numbers, the biggest problem is that his secondary pitches are getting hit hard this season. So now everything's getting hit hard. In years past, it's okay, the fastball, the sinker get hit, but those secondaries are really good. This year, it's everything's getting hit for Jordan Montgomery. What do we do here? He's 84% rostered. Hold or drop?
Well, I pointed out after his last start that it looks like he's regained the shape of his curveball from 2023, his best pitch in 2023, and a vital pitch for him always. It wasn't moving like we're used to seeing it move. He wasn't having much success with it. He regained it. It's really been, the previous 2 starts were good for Jordan Montgomery, and the curveball shape basically returned to normal over those 2 starts. It was still fine in this start, and he got a lot of whiffs with it again. So it was obviously a really bad start for Jordan Montgomery, but I still think he's trending the right direction. And I'm not saying he's must roster, obviously, because it's a deep pitching pool, and Jordan Montgomery's upside is only so high anyway. But I was just talking up Michael Wacha. If Jordan Montgomery is better than Michael Wacha the rest of the year, I don't think that would be a complete shock.
Well, that was
I would not be surprised, but
would you drop Montgomery for Wacha? You make that
No, Wacha's more rosterable right now than Montgomery. Oh, well, yes. So I guess the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Montgomery gets the Dodgers next week.
Yeah.
There's no way.
But am I going to pick up am I going to drop Jordan Montgomery for David Festa because Festa looks like he has some upside? No, I wouldn't do that.
John Gray has allowed 8+ earned runs in 2 of his last 3 starts. He's still 75% rostered. Would you drop John Gray for Michael Wacha?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Mostly because I think John Gray, if you drop him in most leagues, he'll just be ignored. He did have some interesting things to say about this start. Remember 2 turns ago when he got crushed by the Mets, he blamed it on pitch tipping. He said that was not the problem this time. That was something the Mets were doing, but that wasn't happening here against the Orioles. He said the ball felt slippery to him. He said the slider was coming out more like a cutter. He was just having a lot of problems getting a feel for the baseball in this start, which maybe I'm giving John Gray too much credit for just being really articulate. But I find that convincing when a pitcher can pinpoint, like he had a lot more to say than this. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version. It was pretty interesting read. But when a pitcher's able to pinpoint the problem with that level of description, I'm more inclined to buy into it. And apart from those 2 disastrous starts, John Gray's been excellent this year. And
yeah,
he has.
But he's 32, and he finally got out of Coors Field a couple years ago, and was just fine. He's just been fine since getting out of Coors Field. 3.96 ERA, 4.12 ERA, now 3.77. Underlying numbers way worse than that as well. I just think John Gray's boring.
He has thrown his slider a lot more this year, and that is a good plan. Like that. So John Gray's done the thing, throwing his best pitch more. That's all. We always like when pitchers do that, and especially since it's mostly led to success. I'm encouraged by the season he's had overall. I'm not saying he's a burgeoning ace. I'd put him more in that Michael Wacha class of interest in fantasy, but I don't think he's like he's
better than Andrew Abbott.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I like if Spencer Schwellenbach is out there on your wire, I think I'd rather just take a shot on Spencer Schwellenbach. It might be Spencer Schwellenbach could be anything. He could even be John Gray. I absolutely grant that it could be that situation, but I've at least seen some signs of upside from Spencer Schwellenbach that he could be more than what John Gray is, which is a guy who frankly doesn't even get that many strikeouts. Like that's the thing with John Gray that's especially disappointing, is like he's been under a strikeout per inning the past 2 seasons, and even in 2022 it was barely better than a strikeout per inning. So I think John Gray's mostly just a guy.
I think it sounds like we're arguing, but we're basically in the same place on John Gray. I'm just spinning it in a more positive way, and you're spinning it in a more negative way.
I was just going to say, I think between John Gray, Jordan Montgomery, and Michael Wacha, they're all in a similar category. Like you said, Chris, they're fine. And I think you could play matchups with them and whoever's hot at different times.
But none of them should be like, well, I can't drop this guy. Like we haven't really had a like, holy crap, you have to add this pitcher in a couple of weeks. So like, it's fine to hang on to these guys. It might even be fine to hang on to Andrew Abbott. I'm sorry to Andrew Abbott that we keep bringing him up.
I like John Gray more than Andrew Abbott.
But yes, I do as well. But like, it's just to say that like, I would be willing to drop them the first time I saw someone who looks like I need to have
be added. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I would say John Gray, Michael Wacha, Jordan Montgomery. You love having them when they're going well. You're fine dropping them when they're going poorly, at least in the typical fantasy league.
All right, let's take our final break. And when we return, we'll talk rankings. We'll preview week 15. We'll do all of that right after this.
Have you heard of semaglutides? Ozempic, Mounjaro?
Hartman, this could be dangerous. Let's do it.
South Park, The End of Obesity. New exclusive event. Now streaming. Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in. I love that we moved rankings, risers, and fallers to Thursday so that we can let it breathe and we can have more time to talk about it. But you know what?
Blame Andrew Abbott.
We all really like to talk. So this is how we get in the situation that we're in. Let's start off with Chris. Give me 3-4 names that either moved up or down the rankings this week for you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Francisco Alvarez and how I moved him up to the number 5 catcher, so I wanted to highlight that again. We talked about that yesterday. Vinny Pasquantino, I think we need to have a long overdue and honest conversation about who Vinny Pasquantino is, because who he has been at the major league level is a pretty mediocre hitter. Not a bad one by any stretch of the imagination. We're talking about a guy with a 770 career OPS, but certainly not the difference maker we were hoping he would be. Now, you know, he came back from the injury last year. Maybe that's holding him back. I don't know, but it just, the overall profile continues to look pretty good on the underlying numbers and pretty mediocre in the real life numbers. 358 career xWOBA, 335 actual WOBA. It's been an actual WOBA below 330 in 2023 and 2024, down to 315 this season. I'm not exactly sure what it is about his batted ball profile that is making Vinny Pasquantino such a mediocre hitter, but it's there. And, you know, part of it is probably just that he's really, really unathletic, but the batted ball profile shouldn't be holding him back. And it isn't there. And I'm not sure what it is. So I moved him down to, I believe, my number 16 first baseman in Roto.
It's a 78th percentile xWOBA. It's a 78th percentile x slug. And it's 67th percentile xBA. It's a little lower, but I'm not sure I'd call that mediocre. I think part of what I'm saying is, I think part of what's hurt Vinny Pasquantino is in what is his first honest chance to play a full season. It's been a terrible season for hitters, and he's fallen victim to that, like so much of the league has. I don't think we've had a chance for an honest assessment of Vinny Pasquantino.
But what I meant was the underlying numbers are still good.
Yeah,
it's the actual production that's been mediocre.
And
I think that gap is what I'm wondering.
I think he's a victim of timing, is what
I'm
not timing like timing up his swing, but timing of this is when we're learning who he is, and it's just a terrible time. It's terrible time for hitters.
It could be that. It could be the unathletic thing. It could be the ballpark that he pitches into. I think the ballpark could hold back some of those expected numbers as well.
Yeah, no, it's because he's got like a lot of batted balls to left center and then a lot of batted balls down the line. And it seems like that's the two places he hits for power, and down the line, that'll work. That even in Kauffman, but the power alleys in Kauffman, that's a tough place to hit the other way. And so I do wonder if he's just kind of fated to be a guy who underperforms, but I don't want to write him off yet. He's still got some skills. It's just he has to produce at some point.
To get back to the spirit of the discussion, which is how you rank him. Yeah, I rank him 13th. At first base. That's actually in points leagues. I may have him a little lower in Roto, but you know, he's ranked alongside guys like Rhys Hoskins and Jake Cronenworth. And I don't know that I don't know how far down you can actually move him when push comes to shove.
Yeah, I mean, when Tristan Casas is healthy, I think Vinny Pasquantino drops another spot.
Of course.
But after
was
that,
ranked ahead in the first place.
Yeah, after that, like if Yandy Diaz wants to start hitting at some point, that'd be nice. That would be a fairly easy move, although they're kind of similar players.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I feel like for a long time, it was sort of a foregone conclusion that, yeah, if NP is a top 12 first baseman, it hasn't been there.
Mm-hmm. Any other names you want to highlight, Chris?
Luis Castillo, I've moved down a little bit. He's still my highest ranked Mariners pitcher. I know you, Frank, you mentioned you have him, Logan Gilbert, and George Kirby all in a row. I have him a couple spots ahead of those guys, but right in that same range. But there are reasons to believe Luis Castillo isn't quite the ace you hoped he would be. The quality of contact has been down 2 years in a row. Strikeout rate, it's never quite elite. So he's down below Paul Skeens and Dylan Cease for me.
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Me too.
And then the other one, Bryce Miller fooled you. I feel pretty confident saying that he's, despite the work he put in, still pretty much the same guy he was last year. When the fastball's working, he's going to be really, really good. If the fastball is anything less than pristine, he's going to be pretty bad. And I don't know what the path to more upside is there, unfortunately, for Bryce Miller, beyond just completely overhauling his secondaries.
And you lowered him to SP 58 in the rankings. You know, I didn't have the guts to do that.
Yeah.
But I think you might have just inspired me, because
I mean, honestly, even when you said that, I was like, that feels a little high. Guy doesn't really get strikeouts.
I have him at 48, so
he's got a
lower price.
An ERA over 5 since May 1st, I believe. Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, who do I have 58? Because I have Bryce Miller up at 36, but it's not like 58th seems dramatically different looking at the players ranked around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
if somebody told me, like, for example, Scott, your SP 60 is Hunter Brown. If somebody told me they wanted to have Hunter Brown rest of season over Bryce Miller,
yeah,
I can't knock that decision at all.
No, I can't. I couldn't either. That's the good glob right there.
Well, Hunter Brown's my SP 46, so I definitely take him over Bryce Miller.
All right, Scott, let's go over to you. Some rankings, risers, and fallers.
So I have moved Adley Rutschman back to number 1 at catcher, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but William Contreras has had a horrible June.
Mm-hmm.
So horrible that it's brought their numbers about even. Rutschman has more home runs. Contreras has a handful of steals. The rest of the numbers very similar. I was inclined to rank Rutschman ahead coming into the year, so I'm kind of just reverting to that now that they're about equal. I still think William Contreras is good. I think they might be the closest number 1 and 2 at any position, but Adley Rutschman's now technically ahead again.
Yeah, I think there's a clear 1A, 1B. I think Will Smith is probably pretty close to being a 1C.
Yeah.
So then I think there's a bit of a cliff, and then they're just Salvador Perez standing on top of a little island by himself, and then another cliff.
Yeah.
To the rest of the position.
That makes sense.
So Jackson Merrill, I was trying to make a big dramatic move with him. And what I managed to do was move him up to 34th in the outfield. Behind Lane Thomas and Luis Rengifo. If you told me you wanted Jackson Merrill more than Luis Rengifo, okay, fine. But that's the range I'm talking about. 34th in the outfield means he's a starter, even in 3 outfielder leagues with 12 teams. So that is where I moved him, because I think the hitting profile has looked great all along, and obviously he's generating power now. He's delivering power. I mean, he always had it in him, but now he is hitting the ball such that it's able to sail over the fence. Those line drives are turning into home runs. And hopefully it'll continue. I say hopefully, that's why I can't move Jackson Merrill any higher than 34th, because if I knew it was going to continue, he'd be top 20. At shortstop, Jackson Merrill, again, trying to move him into a range that reflects my enthusiasm. 18th is where he comes out, which is behind some of the mainstays at the position, like Bryce Terang and Bryson Stott and Carlos Correa. It's ahead of Dansby Swanson. It's ahead of Jeremy Pena, who we were excited about earlier. It's ahead of Nico Horner, buddy. Nico Horner's, I don't know if you have him in the notes the rest of the show, Frank. Nico Horner's been doing some things lately. Now that he's batting leadoff again, he's running again.
Mm-hmm. He just needed to break a bone in his hand.
Yeah. Last 10 games for Horner, 293, 1 homer, 4 steals.
Yeah, so obviously Mike Tauchman's going to be out for a while, so hopefully we see Nico Horner make up ground in that category. Okay, so that's my stance on Merrill. And finally, Anthony Santander. I tend to underestimate Anthony Santander every year just because he's so one-dimensional. But that one dimension is the best dimension. It's hitting home runs. And when he goes on the sort of binge he has here in June, you're reminded, you're reminded why he's been a must-start player the past couple years. Obviously helped out by being in the best lineup in baseball, arguably, in Baltimore. And so now I rank him like a must-start player. I moved him up to 23rd, which puts him ahead of like Tyler O'Neill, Seiya Suzuki, Elliot Ramos. And frankly, that seems like, why didn't I have him there in the first place? Just look what he's done the last 2 years.
All right, some quick updates for me. Brandon Nimmo up to outfielder 16 in both formats, head-to-head points and roto. He's having a massive June. He hits the ball hard. The expected stats are there. He's chipped in a handful of steals. He's hitting second in what I think is actually a really strong lineup. I know they're hot now, but just top to bottom, it seems like a pretty deep lineup, and that's even without Starling Marte. So I'm buying in on Brandon Nimmo. Tanner Houck up to SP 24. That's just ahead of Tanner Bybee, Justin Steele, and Jared Jones. He's had a breakout season. I do question if this improved control will remain all season, but he has been one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. 2 earned runs or fewer in 12 of 16 starts.
Leads the majors in quality starts, doesn't he?
Yeah, tied for the league lead with 13 quality starts. That is Tanner Houck. And Seth Lugo, this one, I don't know how much conviction I could say this with, but I moved Seth Lugo up to SP 36.
Wow, I moved him up to SP 62.
Just ahead of Hunter Green, Ryan Pepio, and Bobby Miller. I really don't see any great candidates to be ranked in the mid-30s at starting pitcher. It's just after a group of Garrett Cole, Kevin Gausman, Framber Valdez, and then a couple injured guys like Yamamoto, and then it kind of like starts a new tier. And I just don't really see anyone who's worthy of being there. I have questions about the next 30 starting pitchers in the rankings from 35 to 65. I think they could be ranked in any order. So I just chose to take the pitcher who is pitching the best of all of those right now. And it's so that's why I put him as.
I mean, that's kind of what I've been trying to do too. So I have Seth Lugo 41st. I have Reynaldo Lopez 42nd. Kind of same sentiment there, where I don't totally trust the profile, but they're more reliable than some of those players some of those pitchers who I find more exciting. So you said 36 for Lugo. I said 41st, but then looking at some of the guys I have ahead of him, Bryce Miller, who we just talked about, could move down. Nick Lodolo's on the IL. He could move down. Carlos Rodon obviously needs to move down after today.
Yeah.
So that's going to take Lugo from 41st to 38th for me. And I'm right there with you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we've got not a lot of time left, and we still have to preview Week 15. So let's do exactly that. The schedule for next week: 6 teams have 7 games. The Blue Jays, Nationals, Mets, Brewers, Astros, and Rockies. There are 24 teams with 6 games and 0 teams with 5 games. Thankfully, the Rockies, I mentioned they have 7 games. All of them are at home in Coors Field. 4 against the Brewers, 3 against I wrote Rockies. That's not true. I believe it's the Royals. The Royals are in Coors Field next week. Starters sit these 2 start pitchers. Might have some questions. They're kind of on the fringe right now. Luis Gil, the struggles have been there. He's home against the Reds and the Red Sox.
I think I've been the coolest on him all year, and I'd still start him.
Yeah, I have him in the must-start section of the 2-start pitcher rankings, though lower than I might have had him a couple weeks ago.
Brady Singer is home against the Rays. That's a good matchup, but also in Coors Field at Colorado.
No way.
Well, it's a bad 2-start pitcher slate this week, so I do have him as an advisable start.
He's got a 4.68 xERA. I think that's going to go so poorly.
I could see it in a points league. Roto categories, I probably stay away.
You guys are overlooking his first start is against the Rays, so
sure,
he's one
that's
great
pretty
matchup.
good. Yeah,
he could put up 20 points in one and negative 20 in the other times.
I just don't think he's good.
That's fair.
Yeah, but you got to start somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you starting Bobby Miller, who has looked pretty bad since coming off the IL? He faces the D-backs and the Brewers both at home.
I don't think you can. What is it, like 7 walks in 9 innings or something? Yeah.
Not start him.
Again, maybe I just have to grade on a curve this week, but I have him in the points league only section.
And then Brian Bayo, another one at the Marlins. Great start, but also at the Yankees.
I like that more than Singer and Miller.
Okay, I have that as no thanks. Maybe that's because I just got burned recommending him against the Blue Jays, but
that is fair.
There's been a lot more bad starts than good starts for Bayo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would stay away as well. 2-star pitchers to add and stream for next week. Scott, who are they?
All right, so the number one sleeper pitcher for this week that tells you the kind of week we're dealing with here is Kyle Gibson. But he does have 2 good matchups, Pirates and Nationals. So, yeah, he's my favorite one. Zach Littell is pretty high on this list, even though his matchups aren't so great at Kansas City, at Texas. He's been okay recently.
Definitely in points leagues as an RP.
Sean Manaea and David Peterson both make the cut here because I got to come up with 10 names, you guys. It's harder than it seems. Their matchups are good, Washington and Pittsburgh. And
Manaea, relief pitcher eligible as well.
Yeah. I prefer them for points leagues. And then the other one here is Simeon Woods Richardson.
When you refer to him on second reference, is it just Richardson?
No, it's Woods Richardson.
It's Woods.
His last name is Woods Richardson,
but no hyphen.
No, no hyphen. It appears.
Okay.
He used to have a hyphen. I guess.
Right.
I guess that's been straightened out.
I just needed to clarify that, and this was the right time for that.
And Justin Henry Malloy is just Malloy. His first name is Justin Henry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't see the first name be hyphenated often.
I appreciate that as a writer. It makes it like Carl Anthony Towns is Carl-Anthony. So the last name is just Towns. Makes it much easier for writing.
Single start streamers for next week. 5 more names here. Who are they?
So even these aren't great. It's a really crummy week for. By the way, there's only 3 games Monday. We're gonna have to figure out something fun to do for Monday. But
30-minute podcast sounds fun.
You guys are on. We could do a fantasy feud or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great. It came to mind because not many 2-star pitchers, since so few teams are playing. Well, every team's playing Thursday, so I guess it's a normal amount of 2-star pitchers. But it just so happens that the pitchers who line up for 2 starts are by and large terrible, as we just discussed. Okay, so 1-start sleepers, Reese Olson at Cincinnati. Reese Olson makes this list every week.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's worse against righties than lefties. Michael Wacha against Tampa Bay. We talked about him earlier. I'm going to remove Miles Michaelis at Pittsburgh because I don't see how anybody starts him after the start he just had here on Thursday. So we'll replace him. Jose Quintana at Washington. They're worse against lefties, and he's been okay lately. It's looked better. Albert Suarez at Seattle. I want to be done with Albert Suarez, but starting righties against Seattle is generally a good plan. So let's come up with a replacement here for Miles Michaelis. I'm going to say Kyle Hendricks against the Angels. That's a good matchup, and hopefully that curveball that he's introduced to his arsenal has made him useful again. It's scary, though, because we all know how bad Kyle Hendricks can be.
Would you prefer Kyle Hendricks over Ben Lively, who gets the White Sox next week? Because I kind of like that one, too.
I think I like Lively more.
Yeah, I mean, Lively had been pretty bad prior to this start Thursday, which is why I was giving Hendricks preferential treatment. I guess I'll do that. Hendricks is more exciting because I can promote the curveball change, maybe he's good now.
Go with your gut, Scott. Go with your gut.
No, I might prefer Hendricks and Lively to Quintana and Suarez and Michaelis.
The truth is, I don't want you to start any of these guys.
Yeah,
ideally. The job requires me to recommend them.
Yes,
that's the full truth.
They send a letter of notice to Scott's house if he doesn't do his sleeper pitchers for the week. They They come and they find him. What about the hitters for next week? The best matchups: the Rockies, Nationals, Brewers, White Sox, and the Angels. The worst hitter matchups: Reds, Mariners, Phillies, Braves, and the Orioles. Who are your sleeper hitters for week 15?
I like these a little bit more than the pitchers.
Well, the pitchers are so bad.
The pitchers are so bad, right? Okay, so the Mets weren't mentioned among the teams with the best matchups, and their matchups aren't great, to be honest, but they are one of just 6 teams playing 7 games, and they have 4 lefties on the schedule, and a couple of Mets who've been good lately anyway, but especially crushed lefties, JD Martinez and Mark Vientos. I think they're both very good plays this week. You mentioned the Brewers have the 3rd best matchups with 7 games. The Rockies playing 7 games at Coors Week. The Brewers get the 4-game series there. And fortunately, Rhys Hoskins has struggled enough that he's now dropped below the 80% threshold. So I'm going to call him a sleeper hitter this week. I'm going to call Jackson Chourio a sleeper hitter this week. Are those the only 2 Brewers? Yeah, I think so. For the Rockies themselves, with all those games at Coors Field, I like Brenton Doyle. He's been cold lately, but it's a good chance to get him back in the lineup. Charlie Blackmon's supposed to be activated from the IL this weekend, and he has the best home splits of any Rockies hitter, so I think it's a fine time to use him. Let's see who else. Jesse Winker with the Nationals having the 2nd best matchups, I think is a pretty obvious one. They do have a few lefties on the schedule, but Winker plays every day regardless. And I'm going to put Andy Pages here because the Dodgers matchups are pretty good. He's sort of like the hitter version of Reese Olson, where I can't seem to get him off this list ever. Oh, Brendan Rodgers is another Rockies hitter who's good at home. So
you're leaving another one off.
Who?
Hunter Goodman.
Nah.
Catcher eligible.
Nah.
Expected batting average is up to 222, baby. No, but for real, I think like I had very little interest in him as an outfielder, but as long as Elias Diaz is out, I think he's going to play pretty regularly, and he's got really good minor league numbers.
He has started like 5 of the last 7 games.
Yeah.
Has he done anything with that? I guess you could start Goodman if you want. I couldn't put him in the top 10 here, though. And then Andrew Vaughn with the White Sox having the 4th best matchups. He has cooled off, but hopefully the matchups will be enough to get him going again.
Chris, I just realized your shirt is fantastic. I assume you're wearing it for Kokomo
Of course.
Friday?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
very tropical.
Next week, I'll join you. I'll throw
on
a little Hawaiian.
It's the summer, baby.
Let's go.
Hawaiian shirts all summer.
We are going to run a little bit long, so happy Kokomo Friday to everyone out there. Let's wrap up with some leftovers. The pitchers from Thursday, Chris Sale took a tough luck loss at the White Sox. 7 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts, a season high, and he lost. Come on, Scott, get those Braves
against
bats.
The White Sox, who didn't even start a real starting pitcher.
Jared's just a revenge game.
It's been a frustrating year with the Braves offense, as we all know, but this was a new low to me. It was an afternoon game my kids could watch, and this team's just boring them to tears.
Yeah.
Every time they get to see them.
Well, Chris Sale was great, as was Zach Wheeler. Maybe not great. He was pretty good up against the Marlins. 6 2/3, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts, and Corbin Burns, a solid start against the Rangers. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Anything to add here, Chris? I mean, this is pretty much studs being studs.
Everybody did what they were supposed to.
Mm-hmm. One thing I thought was interesting, Burns had 19 whiffs on 88 pitches, but only 5 strikeouts. Zach Wheeler had 18 whiffs on 115 pitches, but only 5 strikeouts. It just feels like I've seen that more this year than previous year. I don't know what it is. Maybe when pitchers get to 2 strike counts, they're just more likely to pitch to contact. I don't know what it is, but it's something I've noticed more this year.
Burns has talked about how he feels like hitters have changed the way they've approached him, so that's why he's not getting as many strikeouts anymore, because he's. I guess I probably shouldn't have brought it up because I don't remember all the details of the argument, but it was a pretty interesting, some interesting insights he offered in there. I do wonder if part of it is just less damage is being done on contact. So why do you have to be so fearful of contact?
Mm-hmm. Pitching standouts part 2. Shota Imanaga turned in a quality start at the Giants. 6 innings, 3 runs, 3 strikeouts. Only had 8 whiffs on 93 pitches. And it was an interesting start. He got through 5 innings scoreless and then just kind of unraveled. I think a little bit of bad luck in that final inning of work as well. He used a cutter 10% of the time, a pitch we have not seen Imanaga throw at all this season. So interesting to see that one start after he gets destroyed. So making some changes there. Jose Barrios, great start against the Yankees. 7 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts. And Jack Flaherty got knocked around at the Angels. 5 2/3, 5 runs, 7 strikeouts, 3 homers allowed in this start. Anything on Flaherty, Barrios, and Imanaga?
Just wonder if Flaherty's not 100% right now. You know, he dealt with that back issue. He hasn't gone 6 innings, I think, in any start in June. Results have still mostly been pretty good in June, so I'm not too worried, but just wonder if he's not at 100% right now.
I was watching that game, and I think it was just a clear approach for the Angels. They were swinging on first pitch. Like, I think the broadcaster said it was 7 or 8 hitters in a row at one point. They were just swinging first pitch because they knew the fastball was coming, and
interesting.
They did some damage on it. So it might have just been an approach thing, but he also might not be healthy. So it's possible.
He got a ton of whiffs, so I'm not backing down from Jack Flaherty, but my take was basically the same as Chris's.
Some hitting leftovers. We had 3 teams put up double-digit runs on a 9-game slate. So again, the offense continues to be up here in June. The Twins put up 13 runs on 13 hits. Chris, your boy, Byron Buxton, he's picking things up. 3 for 4 with his 7th home run, 110.3 exit velocity, 456 feet. Last 17 games for Buxton, batting .355 with 4 homers, 3 steals, hitting the ball extremely hard during that stretch. The Orioles put up 11 runs on 14 hits, including 4 homers. We got a homer from Rutschman, Cedric Mullins, Colton Cowser, and Heston Kjerstad, 2 for 3 with a walk. His first home run of the season. I don't think that's his first home run of his career. I think he hit one last year. Well,
he had 2 last year.
Okay. He started 3 of the past 4 games. Kjerstad is still 35% rostered. Are you guys looking to add him anywhere in deeper leagues just in case this goes somewhere?
Sure. Yeah. I think like deep, even 12-team, 5 outfielder leagues, if you've got a roster spot to play with, he's certainly got upside.
It's costing Colton Cowser at bats, right? So I'm not sure.
He's been playing every other game, I think, recently, Cowser.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what it would take to get Kjerstad in the lineup full time, but if he gets hot enough, anything can happen.
And the Reds put up 11 runs on 16 hits. We spoke about Noelvi Marte. Jonathan India stayed hot, 2 for 4 with a double, run, and RBI. In June, he's batting .375 with a 10-16 OPS. He's 61% rostered. Chris, I know I asked you this question the other day. Scott, how would you rank? All right, who was it? I think it was
India, Gonzalez, Ortiz, because it's always Gonzalez and Ortiz.
Yeah, I think I put Hamilton in that mix too.
Yeah.
Scott, how would you rank Hamilton, Ortiz, India, and Nick Gonzalez?
Okay, well, Hamilton has to be at the top in Roto.
Yeah.
Or categories. India has to be at the top in points. I guess he doesn't have to be, but I'm putting him at the top in points based on the way he's performed. Now that he's batting leadoff for the Reds, he's running more. I'm telling you, these guys like to run more when they're batting leadoff. Okay, so Hamilton. With the understanding Hamilton is number 1 in Roto. Otherwise, I'm going to rank them India, Ortiz, Gonzalez. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I hate that the Reds have the worst hitter matchups this upcoming week. Otherwise, Jonathan India and Noelvi Marte would be easy sleeper hitter recommendations. They maybe should be anyway. But I've learned to trust the matchups when making those selections. And so I can't bring myself to put them on the list.
One other hitter note from Thursday, no hair, no problem. I'm telling you, Vlad Jr., he is back. All he had to do was cut the hair. 8 games since doing so, a .375 batting average, 4 homers, and 12 RBI. So Shout out to Vlad. Some bullpen updates for the Cubs. Hector Neris pitched the 9th with the game tied. He struck out 2. The Cubs took the lead in the 10th. It was Porter Hodge who picked up his first save of the season. It's kind of a roulette right now. Which name can we pull out of the hat for the Cubs to get a save on this day? For the White Sox, Michael Kopech got the 9th with a 1-run lead. He struck out 1 for his 6th save, and it was his first since May 15th. It is June 28th.
Did you see he had I guess he didn't get a save. He had a 7 strikeout performance the other day, I think, or through 3 innings or something.
Kopech?
Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I thought, no, I'm looking at the game log. I just made that up. That's a lie.
Somebody did do something like that.
I thought it was Kopech. I don't know where I got that from. I'm sorry. Fake news. Edit it out.
That I can do. For the Twins, not the Twins. Why are they Twins? For the Marlins, Tanner Scott struck out 1 for his 11th save. And for the Royals, James MacArthur pitched a clean 9th for his 14th save of the season.
All right, I got to interject here.
Okay.
The Reds do have the worst hitter matchups, but remember, we're talking about a week with a lot of bad pitchers on the schedule. I'm not sure the matchups are really all that bad. Maybe I'm just going to break my own rule here and put Jonathan India and Noelvi Marte in the sleeper hitters anyway. It's burned me in the past when I've done that, but the matchups aren't that bad.
It's your last chance to get Noelvi Marte in there.
I don't think he'll do it. Chris.
They're going against Skubal.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's bad. Second toughest is Luis Heel.
It might be a great matchup.
Then Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, Reese Olson. That doesn't sound that bad, right?
It's not that bad.
I'm looking at the second worst hitter matchups. It's not much better. I don't know that I need to flip them, but it's not that. The bad matchups aren't that bad this week.
I would
love to hear it.
Follow your heart, Scott, and your heart right now is telling you to put the Reds in there.
And it is. Yeah. Who do I remove? I guess I remove Andrew Vaughn. No chance Hunter Goodman's making the cut here, Chris. No chance.
Boo.
All right, let's wrap up to stream or not to stream on Friday. And we have Mitchell Parker at the Rays. Drew Thorpe is facing the Rockies in Chicago. And a couple other options, which you probably don't want to use, but Jameson Taillon at the Brewers, Colin Ray versus the Cubs.
I could see Landon Knack at San Francisco being pretty good.
Yeah, I like that. Call.
Decent chance to get a win at least.
I would go Parker, Knack, and then Thorpe in that order.
I think so.
Yep. On a Saturday, what do we have here? Cal Quantrill at the White Sox. Jonathan Cannon is facing the Rockies in Chicago. Tobias Myers has been pitching well. He gets the Cubs.
Yeah.
Great matchup.
Reese Olson
at the Angels. That's pretty good. Yeah.
And I could see a good Griffin Canning start. I'm not saying I expect it, but I could see it.
I would rank it Olson, Myers, Quantrill.
I think I'd go Olson, Canning, and then I don't want to give an answer for a third because I don't believe in Tobias Myers at all.
Okay.
Nobody wants to gamble on Jonathan Cannon?
Not after the last start.
I would put him 4th on the list.
I could see a decent outing. It's the Rockies on the road, but I think he turned back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, I mean, Reese Olson Saturday is the only one I really like.
On Sunday, I think Spencer Schwellenbach facing the Pirates.
That one's decent.
Tyler Anderson versus the Tigers. I don't know.
Could be.
Best of bad options.
Yeah. Anyone else here?
Casey Mize got strikeouts last time out, but I need more than one start to buy into it.
Kyle Hendricks, but at the Brewers, I just don't like the matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope, that's it.
Yep. Schwellenbach and Anderson. That's your answer for Sunday. We are going to wrap there for Scott and Chris. I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning into Fantasy Baseball today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.